We're also joined by Ms. Dr. Jacqueline Kolash. She is a retired, and we love that. She holds a doctoral degree in organizational leadership from the University of Phoenix. Welcome. And we also have Dr. Judy Shearer. She is a freelance business consultant, a project manager, and graduate of University of Phoenix. Welcome, everyone.
Thank you. Good evening.
Oh, welcome. We are so excited to have you. This dynamic topic of women and leadership, and we cannot have a more apt, I tell you, panel for this discussion. Thank you for joining us. So we're going to start with our first question. How did you reach your level of success, and what process do you use to reach your goals? I'm going to ask Miss Katrina Thomas to please start.
Hi, everyone. Thank you for inviting me for this conversation. It's really inspirational for me as well. But to answer the first question, I'm still pretty early in my career, so I don't know if I've reached like my goal yet, but definitely to get where I'm at. It's been through a lot of being poured into. So being poured into through people who believe in me and pretty much saying like, yes, Katrina, you can be a leader because you are one, so go do it. And I know I get a lot of that now, and I probably will get a lot of it in the future. But through networking and having a really great support system is definitely, I attribute that to my success.
Awesome. And what about you, Dr. Kolash? And I hope I'm saying your name correctly.
That is correct.
Okay.
I reached my level of success through determination and listening. And the process that I used to reach my goals was to celebrate the small steps, stop listening to negative people, and understand why the goal was important to me.
I love that. Dr. Judy Shearer.
Shearer, that's correct. I would just like to caveat off of both. I think having a great support team is number one. When you know that your family or your support team will back you 100%, you can fly like Superwoman, actually. And then just knowing how to work smart and not hard, knowing how to manipulate the game or manipulate the system. If you've been in an organization or a company, you know the structure, the hierarchy of the company. You know what plays best, what's favored least, and you learn those tricks of you listening, having great listening skills, having great communication skills, and then just knowing how to promote yourself to the level where you want to be. I attribute it to working smart and not hard.
Thank you so much. So we're going to go on. So this, as a female leader, what has been the most significant barrier in your career? Dr. Kolash, we're going to start with you.
Some of the significant barriers that have been in my career have been dealing with negative people telling you that you can't do something or trying to stop you from doing what you're trying to do. And another one would be limitations because of gender. Sometimes some organizations that I have been in, it's a man's world.
Yes.
And some of them have a tendency to feel like because of your family responsibilities, you're not capable of doing the job. And I know sometimes my family's responsibilities have gotten in the way because I've always put my family first. And being a single parent, raising two sons, I wanted to make sure they got a good education also. So I put a lot of things in my career on the back burner in order to make sure that they succeeded and they would do better than I have done.
I love that. That's often not something that a male would have to deal with, but that definitely we as females have to consider that. So thank you so much. Katrina,
You're
what
welcome.
about you? What are some barriers that you faced so far?
So far, so I think one of the biggest ones, so internally, it's definitely imposter syndrome, like
Yeah.
just that self-doubt, like, am I supposed to be here? Are these people listening to me? Am I even saying the right thing? I don't want to lead these people down the wrong path. Like all of that internally has been one of like my biggest barriers, and trying to overcome that. But then externally as well, is like, coming from STEM or being an engineer, it's like,
Mhm.
there's not a lot of women, there's not a lot of Black women. So it's like, I really kind of feel, a lot of times I am the only one. And it really does heighten my position when I'm like, I'm the only one, and now you all have to listen to me. And it's a very weird dynamic. And depending on the crowd who may or may not have had a person who looks like me lead them before, they might not be receptive to it. So I get a lot of like name calling and called out my name. So externally, I think that's been kind of one of the other challenges I faced. And I also have that other triple factor of being young as well.
Yeah.
So it's hard out here, but we can get through it.
These leadership skills, yes, absolutely. And that sounds a lot like really establishing and finding your leadership voice in those spaces. So thank you for sharing that, Katrina. And Dr. Shearer.
I think as women in general, we all are underrepresented, especially African American females, and no matter what role you are, even if you come in at the VP level, come in as an engineer, um, a lot of corporate do not take us serious for what we know and what we have and our experiences that we bring. They look at us as a mother. They look at us as underneath second class citizens to them, because typically in the world it's always been the male that was the dominant, the head. But as women, I think we're breaking those glass ceilings and concrete ceilings, that we are being represented. Our numbers are increasing. They're still not where they need to be, but we are breaking through the concrete ceiling. And just being race and gender and inclusion and diversity, those are strong keywords that, even though most corporate America have policies and guidelines on, but they are not taken at heart the way they should be. And underrepresentation is a big key factor in female leadership and the barriers that we all have to face.
Absolutely. And I would say that in all industries.
Exactly.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So thank you for that. So my next question is, what advice would you give to the next generation of female leaders? We've learned a lot. So what can we give back so that others can learn from what we've experienced? Katrina.
Okay, I feel like I'm in that next generation. So I want to hear what y'all have to say, but I'll definitely say one of the things that I wish I knew earlier was to practice grace, practice patience, and to, really learn how to honor yourself and how you lead. And I know a lot of like the leadership information I might have received, it might have been geared to like, this is how a man is going to do it. But like, if it didn't sit well with me, I don't have to necessarily follow that. Like I can pretty much set my own pathway through leadership. So grace, patience with yourself, those who you're leading, in the spaces you're in, it's definitely one thing I recommend.
I love that. And honor yourself. I absolutely love that. Thank you for that advice. Dr. Kulash.
Hi. Some of the advice I would like to give to the to the next generation would be to believe in yourself, because first you have to believe that you can do something before you can do it. And also learn to compromise. because you're not always right, and there can always be another way to do things, not just your way. And learn to treat others with respect, because in order to earn respect, you have to give respect.
I love it. I love it. Dr. Shara.
I would say connect with a mentor. Find someone within your organization that's of like mind. Maybe not necessarily, in today's world, may not be of same color, but find someone that's willing to take you on as a mentor and shadow them and see what their processes and what they go through. I actually am a mentor to six ROTC college students at the University of Jacksonville State in Jacksonville, Alabama. And I came on with that program um, while I was working on my dissertation. And I found that having a mentor is a key element when people see people of like-minded, like kind in leadership roles. They and know that they have an opportunity and know that they can advance. It's a great positive network. If I only had a mentor in my life during my early 20s, 30s,
Yeah.
I think my military experience would have been a lot more successful. But I take those attributes and say, find a mentor, look up to someone that you see in the position or in a authority that you'd like to be, and ask if Sometimes you just ask if I could shadow you. I would like to learn, through your aspect of what you do, because I see you as someone in my skin that's a future leader of a potential opportunity that I would like to be or grow, whether it's in that company or move on to be your own boss.
I love that. I really do. And being in these spaces that are male dominated, we have to definitely seek out and find those individuals who can help find our way. Definitely an advocate of mentoring. Thank you so much. So, have you all ever experienced a difference when you're leading men versus when you're leading women? Dr. Kolash, you laughed about that.
Yes.
Uh-huh. So let's hear about it.
Well, my first job was a welder.
Mm,
And so I had and I started that as a teenager. So I kind of came up in a man's world.
wow.
And believe it or not, a lot of the men were good role models. And a couple of them were mentors to me. And as I grew older, I ended up getting mentorship from women more. But when you grow up in kind of a man's world, your brain seems to think a little bit different.
Mm,
And sometimes women don't understand the challenges that you've been through, and they push back on your style of leadership because you don't take everything that they say. You're not the leader that they think you should be.
mm,
So I felt men are more open to my leadership style because sometimes I'm dominant.
wow.
And quite often, I like short answers and to the point. And when I was leading with women, I had to learn to listen more. And it was just a different world.
Yes. I
That's it.
love that. I do. I love that. And you made some valid points on that, because if you are around those men, you may pick up some of those male characteristics of leadership. And you have to be able to know how to lead the various individuals that you're leading. So very great points. Thank you. Dr. Shara.
I think knowing the leadership styles of the people that you work with is a great opportunity to extract from each individual, whether it's male or female. A lot of male leaders feel that women have a different place in society than where they are. and they don't take you as serious as you are. But knowing leadership styles, personality traits, and knowing how to work with them. You don't have to be, quote, the angry Black woman to get your point across. And you don't have to be the passive Black woman to get, to feel like you're being walked over. But once you know the leadership styles and the characteristic traits of individuals, then you can have a better opportunity to work with them on an individual basis. And what you may say to uh, person number A about the same question and person number B, you can still be effective with two different answers of the same question from the same question, and still be effective with each individual based on their characteristic traits and their leadership style.
I love that. Thank you. Katrina, have you experienced a difference?
Yes, I'm going to echo a lot of what has already been said, but quick story time. I don't want to get too far down in memory lane, but definitely. So when I was in undergrad, I was a resident assistant. So being a resident assistant for engineering students, my first year I had a floor of all girls, and it was definitely, I had to show a lot of patience, always had to have that listening ear, and it was different for me because I'm not one to receive a lot of sob stories, but I had to do that because I was developing a community for these young women. My second year, I was a resident assistant for a floor of all men, and it was horrifying. I got through, but it was definitely challenging because I wasn't able, although they respected me to a certain extent, they tested that respect often and frequently and very creatively. Whereas with my floor of women, I felt like, they kind of had that, we had that mutual understanding, and I didn't have to, reestablish myself all the time to get the respect that I needed or deserved, because you have to be a level of enforcer when you're a resident assistant. And, throughout my career, I've kind of seen that like boys club mentality where, when men start grouping up together, like no matter what position you are as a woman, they're going to use their collective force against you. So, trying to, finesse your way through the boys club. I don't want to be in the boys club, but I definitely know the rules, regulations, what's going on. I know how to work the boys club,
Awesome. Now, we touched on mentoring in one of the responses, one of you did. And so this next question really is about that. Do you feel that we have a duty and a responsibility to be a positive role model and or mentor to other women? Why or why not? Let's start with Dr. Shira.
I was going to say I will go first. Absolutely. I truly value the opportunity of mentorship, and because when people see light skinned people that are excelling, they want to navigate, especially young, college students. And what better way to give back? I think everything comes full circle when you give out what you learn, what you know, what you share, and impact a positive outlook on someone's future that could potentially lead to a 20-year military career, or female officers joining the military as a second lieutenant and working their way up to colonel, to even to general, which is a very high echelon that most Black women do not achieve. There's probably 1 or 2% that have achieved that level in all branches of the armed forces. But when you see people achieving that way, just know that they had some mentor in their life to make an impact on them. And even just mentoring to your coworkers. Some people, like the other lady said, you have to stay away from people with negative attitudes and negative vibes. And a lot of times they don't even recognize that that what they're saying is coming across on a negative side. But I mean, sometimes people homes or their backgrounds are entirely different. They come to work just to get away. So nurture, mentor, share opportunities, give them hope, give them courage that they can excel. And they can be whatever they want to be. That's a legacy if I leave nothing else in life, to know that I made an impact in someone else's life for them to achieve the success that they are open and potential to achieving.
Wow, that mentor relationship is so valuable. Thank you
It
for that.
is. It
Thank
is.
you. Absolutely. Katrina.
So my instinct is to say yes. Like, definitely, we do have that obligation, responsibility as, women, Black women especially, to be that positive role model. However, since I'm a chronic mentee. I always want to be someone's mentee. And I know that next step in my leadership is truly being a mentor. But from the mentee perspective, I know I get disheartened a lot of times when I walk into a space, I see another Black woman, I'm like, great, I found my mentor. And they don't always pan out to be the best mentor for me. So I'm still kind of sitting with, I know, Dr. Sherry, you talked about, different leadership styles. Within that, I'm still trying to understand what are different mentor-mentee relationships, what are the different types of mentors, and what kind of mentor can I be? And, definitely channeling the mentorship that I received, but that's like my next evolution of leadership, I feel like, for sure.
Wonderful.
I think knowing the leadership styles of people in leadership, and you can find your niche based on their leadership style, to determine, well, I know this person. And sometimes if people are like two words direct to the point, sometimes that could be the pivoting point that we really need in our lives, to say, okay, I need you to do one, two, three, and then come back and show me that you did it without uh, line by line instructions and stuff. And that's a form of leadership too, and mentoring.
Absolutely. And I would also add to that what Ms. Thomas was saying. Not everyone is designed to be your mentor. And I think that's what you were getting at, that you gravitated to individuals, but it just didn't pan out. And that does not speak specifically to the mentor relationship in general, just that pairing was not the way to go. So I appreciate you bringing that out. Thank you. Dr. Cola.
Well, one of the reasons I feel I would say yes, because everyone needs a positive role model and a mentor. And starting off, my first positive role model was my mother. She kept pushing. She said I didn't have a chance to get this much education because of different reasons, and she wanted to make sure we kept moving forward. And she always said, you can do whatever you want to do. And at the same time, I have to look at all the mentors that have been in my life. There have been several different mentors for one reason or another. And you can have mentors to help you sometimes in your personal life. Sometimes it'll be in your business life. But they all come there for a reason. And you just have to know which reason you're looking for when you're looking at a mentor. And I feel like that you need to help other people achieve their goals because someone helped you.
Absolutely.
And just being a mentor to me is positive because back in the early days, sometimes you had a mentor, but you didn't even realize you had one. But it was people that had your back, made sure that you did things right. So I would like to help other people not make some of the same mistakes that I made.
Absolutely. I love that. Thank you. So our viewers out there, we are looking for your questions. If you have questions, please put it in the chat for one of our panelists. Please just put your question. We will read it out and we will have our panelists respond to your question. So please take the time now to drop it in the chat. So let's move on to our next question. This is always interesting to hear the response. How do you define a great leader? Dr. Sherry.
I think leaders are born. As a child growing up, the leadership that have been instilled into you, starting with your parents, to positive know that hey, you can be anything you want to be. You just have to work hard, do what's right, stay on the right path. Um, I truly believe it starts at a young age, and then when you have great self-esteem, or even just have self-esteem to know that my family or my community has my back through whether it's middle school, grade school, high school, college life, marriage, family. When you know you have a great support team, uh, the sky's the limit.
Wow. Katrina, how do you define a great leader?
I definitely am a little biased just because the leadership style that I try to emulate is definitely servant leadership. So for me, a good leader is a servant leader. Now, what makes them a great leader is if they have a track record. So if they're able to do it multiple times in different spaces and there's evidence of it, and you can see that evidence through the things that they've been able to accomplish, the things that people they've led have been able to accomplish. That's what I think defines a truly great leader. It's less about you. It's more about what is coming following you.
I love it. Dr. Kolash, a great leader.
Well, what I look for in a great leader is integrity because it's doing the right thing when nobody's looking. And also their decision making skills. Because if you're wishy washy, I'm not feeling that you're a good leader because I feel like you can't make up your own mind.
Mm.
And also, I feel like that a leader needs to empower their team members. Because when you empower your team members, it makes your job a whole lot easier. You give them a job, let them do it, and don't micromanage. A leader should have good communication skills. And I look at gratitude. Always remember to say thank you and please. Because that way a person feels like they've been appreciated. And if a person doesn't feel like they're appreciated, they're not going to do the best job for you.
I want to follow up on something actually Dr. Shearer said, starting out with that response. She felt that leaders were born. And I just want to follow up to get your take, Katrina and Dr. Kolash, about that. Do you feel leaders are born, or do you feel great leaders can be developed?
I feel that some great leaders may be born, but I also feel like you can be developed.
Okay.
Because depending on the mentor that you have through the years, you could be born a leader but never have the opportunity to move forward. And that's why I feel like a leader can develop the skills over the years. If you have a good mentor, they can help you and show you which way you need to go. But you also have to understand yourself.
Okay.
Because you can't just do that what that leader tells you to do.
I love it. So your thoughts. Born, do you think?
It's very gray. It is a very gray area. Just because I know a lot of I feel like what has defined my leadership is definitely the experiences I've had. But I feel like there's a lot of us who are out there that are like sleeper leaders, where we're in these roles, we're doing things that leaders do, but we don't actually identify ourselves as leaders. So were you born that way? Sure. But it's like, if you haven't been poured into, or if you haven't had that click where it's like, oh, this is leadership, then you might not identify yourself as a leader. So I think it's very gray. I don't have an exact answer, but if there are any sleeper leaders out there, just
sleeper
probably a leader.
I think the key to that, though, is knowing that leadership is not about position. It's not about title.
Yes.
It is about the influence and the impact, which what we talked about, what makes a great leader. So thank you for that follow-up response. So our next question. What are some strategies that can help women achieve a more prominent role in their organization? And I want to actually start with Dr. Shara, because you talked about how in the military, there are certain levels that women, Black women specifically, never reach. So can you talk a little bit about what are some strategies that perhaps can get women into those prominent roles?
I will always navigate back to having having a mentor. Even like a lot of programs, and they've cut them out at starting at the high school level, the ROTC programs. I believe ROTC is a great opportunity through high school to navigate you to university, ROTC, which will teach you all you need to know about military science, all the aspects of the military. And so upon completion of college, university, then you will go in the army or the military, excuse me, the military as an officer, which gives you a jump ahead of someone that's fresh out of high school coming in as an enlisted. Breaking the two down, you still can achieve, maximum level of career over the term, but you, even being young, I think going through ROTC programs, you've had mentorship from high school, you had mentorship from university, and then you get to the real world of the military, and there's no mentors. But at that point, I remember everything that you was learned, that you was taught, the values, the characteristics, um, the leadership that you have. Work on that, work at what you need to do, learn what you need to do for the next position. Find someone, in leadership. A lot of times, there's you can't go beyond like your level of chain of command. But if you network with other people, whether it's maybe network at the gym or something that's not work related, and just ask them, how did you get to the next level? How did you make it through the ranks to where you are? Um, am a junior or a junior officer trying to achieve a military career. What do I need? What's your recommendations? What are your takes on moving to the next level? Network and find local events if there's opportunities to work on charitable events, contributions that's giving back. Volunteer, work there, because you're automatically going to have people in higher leadership that's volunteering as well, and they're looking for their junior leaders to volunteer too. And that's a great opportunity to network with someone in a higher position than where you're trying to achieve, and find out, what are some of your recommendations on getting promoted to the next level faster? What do I have to do? What do I have to get out of my comfort zone to do? That's morally and ethically sound to get to the next level.
Thank you for that. Katrina.
Definitely. I'm just going to retweet everything Dr. Sharon said. That was great. Because I know one thing that has really helped me is having a near peer. So like that near peer mentorship where it's like, all right, I'm in grad school now. So my near peer is literally that person who just got their PhD. That person, and just having that person who I can just pretty much like a sponge soak up the pathway that they've already laid for me. I might deviate, I might be led astray, or I might have different interests, but it's there for me. But I know one of the strategies lessons that someone told me was to, effectively lead. You want to be able to lead up, down, and across. So I know I've been trying my best to do that, and it's been difficult being young as well to lead up, because I've been taught like, okay, always respect your elders. What they say is like golden, but now I'm in kind of that position where like I can just challenge some of the things that are being said. And leading up, I think, is really difficult, especially as a woman, as a Black woman, because that up might not be someone who will receive your voice. So finding your voice within that, leading down is pretty easy. And leading across is also challenging depending on who's across, like who are your peers. If they look like you, it might be a little easier because they're your battle buddies. But, you know, if they don't look like you, they might not give you the time of day. So that's one of the things I've been trying to employ as well, as leading up, down, and across.
I love it. I love it. Dr. Kolash.
I agree with Dr. Shearer said. It's very important to be a good leader and everything. But one thing I've thought about is self-evaluation. Because a lot of times we are so busy looking at what someone else is doing that we never bother to check ourselves. And when you self-evaluate yourself, sometimes you'll find out, well, and you might have to go back and apologize to that person because of the simple fact you thought you were right. Maybe according to the book, it was right. But as far as speaking from the heart, you know what you said wasn't right or the way that you said it was not right. Mm-hmm. And then being able to give recognition. Sometimes as women, we do not want to give recognition to another woman. And we also can learn from different races. Because I've had mentors from different races. And even with my doctoral paper, I had different mentors. I had a chair and I had the two mentees. The two mentees under the chair. And I had to learn from all three of them. Just remember, everyone has something to give. And we have to learn to respect each other. And as women, a lot of times we forget to respect each other. And to me, that is very important when you become a leader, is to understand that you can learn from someone else, no matter what your position is. It doesn't matter whether you have a PhD or a high school education or no education. Because at that time, some people that are older than me, they didn't have the opportunity to go to school. But they could also teach me a lot that I never would have believed. And you just have to remember you can learn from anybody.
I love it. I love that. I love that. And this, you talked about earlier, I think it's Dr. Shearer that talked about how we are underrepresented in so many spaces. And I often think about the different industries that we are. I'm a PK-12 educator. There are school districts who've never had a female as a superintendent, ever. Mm-hmm. There are cities across this nation that have never had a woman lead their city as mayor. States, only men governors. So we have a work to do. And I think we spend a lot of time looking at the mentee, but I want to just focus a little now on the mentor, because I think as a mentor, it's our responsibility, as we said before, not only for the mentee to reach out and find a mentor, but we who have reached certain levels need to reach back. Basically what you were saying, Katrina. We've got to reach back and find that individual to help bring up. So I think that's so important. Thank you all for your responses for that. Thank you. So what is one leadership lesson that you've learned in your career? What's that one lesson that you learned? Let's start with Katrina with that.
Mm-hmm.
Active listening, that has been, it saves me in more spaces than just leadership. So I'm very prone to popping off at the mouth. So, definitely learning how to listen and not listen to respond, listen to what that individual is saying. I always use that tactic of like, I'm listening, I repeat back what I interpret of what you are saying. So it's giving you an opportunity to correct me if I'm wrong. So we can move forward like that. So, it's not the biggest, it's a bunch, but it's definitely one that I try my hardest to, employ is active listening.
I love it. Thank you. Dr. Shearer, what's that one lesson, leadership lesson that you've learned in your career?
The leadership lesson I've learned is to always persevere, never give up, no, and never let your feelings get in the way of what's been said. If something negative has come across, uh, take it with stride. Let it roll off your off your shoulders. Have thick skin, because in today's world, when it's male dominant, you really have to have thick skin in order to play the game or to navigate your way through. So my one thought would be to persevere, never give up, and no, and don't put your feelings into whatever it is, because our feelings are emotions. Emotions come and go.
Yeah. Thank you, Dr. Collage.
Uh, One thing that I've learned is don't beat yourself up. Everyone makes mistakes. No one is perfect. But sometimes I know within myself, I have a tendency to say, well, maybe I could have done it this way. What if I had done it a different way? And then you start second guessing yourself. And that's when you do start making more mistakes.
Mm.
And just being passionate about what you believe in, because if you don't believe in yourself, nobody else will. And as Katrina said, pay attention to what others are saying. Listen more and talk less. Because a lot of times we're too busy talking or talking over the person that we never heard what the other person has to say. And they have a valid point also. And they are important. They want to be heard. And if you're the leader and you don't listen to what everyone else is telling you, that's when you start second guessing yourself, because then you start hearing the gossip around the water cooler, or your friends or so-called friends that want to make sure you know what the latest gossip was about you. So you just need to learn to listen. And that's the hardest thing. I know with the patience and everything, as they used to say, patience is a virtue.
Virtue, yeah.
When you become a leader, patience is a virtue.
Yeah, absolutely. Active listening, perseverance, and take it easy on yourself. Don't beat yourself up. I love that. What are your leadership lessons out there? Drop it in the chat. What have you learned as a leader? Drop it in the chat. All right, let's keep it going. I love these responses. So many nuggets being dropped today. So what do you think is the most significant barrier to female leadership? And so we talked a little bit about barriers to our careers, but let's look at female leadership as a whole. What do you think is the most significant leadership barrier for women in leadership? I'm Katrina.
Ooh, I am just airing out all my dirty laundry, but I mean, going back to what I said earlier, tying back to imposter syndrome is burnout. It's that superwoman complex of, I got to be able to do it all, do it perfectly, and do it a bunch of billion different times. I fall victim to it often, where it's like, I don't need to sleep. It's fine. I can get this done. The people need it. So, I feel like it is definitely burnout, and I'm learning that no is a full sentence.
No is a full sentence. I love that. We all can learn from that one. Absolutely. Dr. Collage, what do you think is a significant barrier in women in leadership in general?
One thing I think is often we don't remain competitive in our industry.
Wow.
Sometimes we think we are, but we don't want to continue the goal of moving forward sometimes. We get to a certain point, and because of the negative feedback we receive, we have a tendency to stop.
Wow.
Or let other people define our destiny. And, because we have the structural barriers, we have the men going playing golf. Most of the time, the women are busy. We end up going home because we have other responsibilities to take care of. And men seem to be more
Wow.
freer. And they go out and they build client relationships. Women, we're doing it more than we used to. But at the same time, we have to have that opportunity. And a lot of opportunities not given when we're trying to lead and understand dealing with families, lack of support sometimes. Sometimes you could be married. Your husband might feel like you're making more money than him. So he doesn't feel like your job is important and give you the support that you need in order to succeed.
Wow. Dr. Shearer.
My leadership is, I believe women are still are not valued as a leader in the workplace, and we are definitely a part of being inclusion. We they don't include us in their coffee or their cliques of opportunities that they do, and just being undervalued for the work and the skills, the knowledge and leadership abilities, and the education that we have. I still think that in the corporate world of today, uh, we know you have uh, tenure degrees. We know your skill level. We know your competencies, but we're still going to give it to a male person, or we're going to give it to a female. And then the black and the brown women come late, the latter part of the chain, whether you still have the same credentials, the same education levels, the same skills, and yours may even be 1 or 2% higher, but because we're underrepresented, I feel that it's still given to the ones that are a part of their clique. So, because as a black woman, you don't necessarily fill in the cliques, or like the luncheons, everybody do lunch or go to social hour. Inclusion, it will always be a part, and being underrepresented or
Thank you.
undervalued.
Absolutely. So I think we have time for one more with a very quick response. Just one more question. So this one, I want you to really think about: what woman inspires you and why? Dr. Shear, go ahead and kick it off for us.
Well, we're always going to start with our mothers. My mother, my mother was a big inspiration to my life. She had me at the age of 40, so I was the one and only child.
Wow.
So I think that was a great opportunity, great leadership to push and encourage and always feed, positivity. You can do anything you set your mind out to. Uh, be respectful. Don't overstep, or don't cutthroat somebody to get to the next level or the next job. But be who you are. Be what you can be. You can do, and you can have anything that's worth working and worth having for in life.
I love it. Thank you. Dr. Kalash, who is that one woman that inspires you and why?
I have to agree with Dr. Shearer. That one woman was my mother.
Mm.
And she inspired me because she did a lot of volunteering. And she would always, I wouldn't say put others in front of herself, but she was always there to lend a helping hand. And she always taught us to never look down on nobody. Because it doesn't matter where you come from, it matters where you're going. And to be the best at which you can be, because my mother had me at 16. Mm-hmm. So most mothers that had kids at 16, you were looked down upon. And she just always told us to get a good education. And I knew I wanted my doctorate, so I just got mine 3 years ago. And yes, I am retired, just turned 65 and enjoying every moment of it.
I love it.
But she told me, if you want it, to keep going.
Keep going.
So I kept going It took me a while,
I love it.
but I finished it.
I love it.
Amen.
Yes, I love it. Katrina, who is that one woman that inspires you and why?
Same thing has already been said because I already know she's watching. You get cussed out. So my mother. But I think I will add, it's not. I mean, it is her. She's like definitely my inspiration, but it's also the collective of women in my life. Like even my mother's friends, like how they pour into me, my friends, my aunties, like everyone is a tribe. It truly is a tribe, and I definitely thank my
I
tribe for
love
raising
it.
me.
Ladies, this has been a dynamic conversation starter, women in leadership. We want to just thank you for sharing your golden nuggets and all of your information. And now we want to take the time for you to please share. How can our viewers, our listeners connect with you? Dr. Kalash, let's start with you.
You can connect with me through my email address, which is ODDESA5985 at q.com, and I will respond back to you. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Kalash. Dr. Shira, how can our viewers connect with you?
They can connect me with me. I am on Facebook under Judy Scherer, Sherrer. I am also on LinkedIn under Dr. Judy, Judie, Scherer, Sherrer. And they can also reach me on Instagram at Judy Scherer. And I am also, I can be reached through email, which is Scherer, Sherrer 50 at gmail.com.
Thank you. And Ms. Thomas, please give your contact information.
Yes, the easiest way to reach out to me is at katrina.thomas@asu.edu. Just shoot me an email. Give me grace. It is digital era, so my inbox gets flooded. So give me some grace, but definitely in my email address.
Thank you. We want to thank all of our viewers out there for engaging with us today. I am Dr. Sharon H. Porter. You've been tuned into the Black Doctoral Network Conversation Starter Series, where our topic today was women and leadership. So definitely stay tuned for the next one. We are here every Friday at 7 p.m. We want to say thank you, and I want to say thank you to the Black Doctoral Network. Until next time, keep leading.